big question. What is the biggest threat to our planet at present? Now, this may be as you see it or within the knowledge we all have, I suppose. So, Liz, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think like we've talked about before, like the biggest problem is also the biggest solution. It's human beings, isn't it? And, you know, I think as we've heard already, we can all do stuff, but we need the big companies and the governments. They're the ones who've got to take action, and we can let them know that.
Fantastic. Hugh, do you echo that, or have you got something else you'd like to add to that?
100%. Of course.
Yeah.
Humans are the most destructive animal on the planet, yet also we have the potential to be the most kind, clever, caring, and positive creature on this planet too, if only we'd get our acts.
I know. What about you? What are you, Parry?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I kind of couldn't put it better.
It is, but I think that's the thing. It's endlessly frustrating. I mean, what Hugh said there, because as he said, we can do so much wonderful stuff, and yet there's always that other bit. I'm a great lover of history, and I really read a lot of history. And I nothing to do with this topic, but I just read a huge book about ancient Egypt, 3,500 years of civilization, and you think no one seems to learn. And that is quite an incredible thing. But as you said, there's always good things coming from it. What we're going to do is we're going to this is a quick. You'll know the answer to this because Patricia, I think, has already given you the answer. If you were listening, you're given the answer. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this quick question out. It's all environmental quiz questions. We're just going to intersperse this bit with a few of them. You can put your hands up in your classroom and see if you can guess it first. So I'll put it up there and I'll give it a few seconds. And if you know the answer, then I'll say go and you can just shout out the answer. We just be like that. So here we go. So this is it. So how much of the food we grow gets thrown away? Is the answer A, none of it? Is it B, 1/10? Is it C, 1/3? Or is it C, or is it D, sorry, 1/100th? Get thinking, kids. Patricia's already mentioned it. Okay, I'm going to hand it over to our panel now. First one to shout out. 1, 2, 3. What is it? No one knows.
Was it 1/10?
She's gone. I can't remember. Yeah,
Way too much. Way too much.
Way too much. Do you know what the answer is? Anyone know?
No.
Was it 1/10?
No, it's actually 1/3. Unbelievably,
Oh.
1/3. Yeah, this is over a third of all food produced globally goes to waste. The UK throws away around 9.5 million tons of food waste in a single year, even though about 8.4 million people in the UK are in food poverty. So
that's crazy. Imagine you've got 3 custard creams and you're throwing one away every time. You'd never do that, would you?
You'd never do that. Not to a custard cream. Must be joking. No, absolutely not. I'd say, here we go. Let's get another school question up. Here we go. So, St. John Fisher Catholic College, Newcastle. What one thing do you think is the best way to help protect the planet? Parry, I'll go to you for this one.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many things you can do, but I think the best thing you can do is to use your voices and to whether that is writing to your MP, talking to the people in your family and your friends, shouting about it, you know, online, writing about it in stories. I think use your voice to fight for the planet and the protection that it needs, because everyone has a voice and nobody is too small to make a difference.
That's brilliant advice. Anything to add to that? I come to you, Hugh, for anything to add to that? Or
I get asked this all the time. Obviously, I want to say hug penguins, but that's not going to save the planet. When I'm asked what's the one thing that one person can do, my answer is simple: don't be the one person. So the best answer is to join with other people, whether it's joining a club at school, whether it's joining with other people, as Parry said, to write a letter to your MP. But together, we can get energy and optimism and hope from each other. Doing things on your own is very, very difficult. But there are millions of people around the world who care about the environment as much as I hope we all do.
Fantastic. Patricia, what about yourself? What one thing do you think is the best way to help protect the planet? I don't know if you heard what Parry said earlier, but anything you'd like to add?
Yes, I wanted to agree with Hugh also. I think the best thing you can do is to raise your voice. I think that it's only really by working together and working with a combined political will that we can make a difference on a large scale. I mean, it's fine to conserve at home. It's great to do that, but we really need to speak to we need to communicate with everyone so that we can really convince the people who make decisions in the world.
Fantastic. And what about you? What about you, Liz? Anything to add to that, or do you just kind of say yes, amen to all that?
Yes, all of the above. But also we have different access to what we can do, don't we? So for some people, you might be able to do something small and local. Other people might do some research, or as everybody said, you could support one of the amazing organizations or charities doing wonderful work around the world. So it might be different for different people.
I think that's the thing, is everyone can do something. I think that, it's a bit like saying if everyone smiled tomorrow at a stranger, would the world be a better place? And the answer is yes, and it's free, and you can do it tomorrow. And yes, it's a simple sort of thing in that sort of sense. This next question, I think, is from your book, Patricia. So again, you should know the answer to this. And then we're not into your book anymore. So here we go. So this is it. Which is worse for the planet? A, cow burps. B, cow farts. C, human farts. Or D, ladybird farts. That's from Patricia's book. I didn't make it up. I think it's from Patricia's book. Is that from your book? I think it is. So anyone know what's the worst for the planet? So to hold on there, kids. What do you think, kids? What do you think it is? A, B, C, or D? Anyone like to shout out first? Hugh, yes.
It's got to be burps, isn't it? A, cow.
I'm going to guess cow
farts. Is it burps or farts? I don't know. Which one is it?
I'm going to go with B.
It's burps. It's got to be burps.
Got to be burps. Patricia, what is it? Which one is it? Do you know?
It is burps. It is burps.
burps.
Cow burps, they emit a tremendous amount of methane, which is a greenhouse gas.
So I think methane, if I'm right in saying this, is 80 times more powerful than carbon monoxide or dioxide, or whatever it is, and trapping heat in the atmosphere. So it's pretty bad. So what comes out both end of cows, for all of us really, but both end of cows is a bad contributor to obviously global warming, and therefore part of climate change. Okay, another question from school. Emma is a home educator from Gosport. Do you have a favourite endangered, almost extinct animal, and how can we help stopping its extinction? So shouldn't have been in there. But what about you, Liz? Do you have a favourite sort of animal that's kind of would be on that list? I know this list changes all the time, sometimes for the worst, but sometimes for the better.
Yeah, it's so hard, isn't it? It's really difficult to choose one. So I think probably one of the really rare cats whose numbers have got, really low, whether it's a Scottish wildcat or a snow leopard or something like that, because that's my love of cats, you see, coming out.
Yeah. So one of the cats. What about Hugh? Are we going to the birds, or is there any particular penguins that are really endangered?
Some of them, there's the Galapagos penguin, for example, the only penguin that swims into the northern hemisphere. There's barely 1,000 left, but actually extinction is about rate of decline as much as numbers. So there are some types of penguin where there are actually hundreds of thousands, which might sound like a lot, but their rate of decline in those numbers has been so rapid in the last few decades that it's really worrying. I would say all birds are amazing. Local birds here in Britain, garden birds are under threat, and things like puffins, so beautiful. It's a terrible shame to think that actually within a generation we might not see puffins anymore.
That would be awful. Patricia, what about yourself?
Well, I was thinking of a bird as well, which is a bird I can see outside of my window every once in a while, the eastern meadowlark. It's not endangered, but it's almost endangered. And that's because its habitat is being lost by development. It likes to live in brushy areas and develop. And when people develop and they build, they mow down its nests. It has a beautiful whistling call. I love to hear it. And it's just an example of many kinds of birds whose habitats are being lost to development. And
it's so, we've sort of touched on this, all of us, sort of during the program in various ways. But it's so, we've got just a tiny little sort of garden out here, but we have some sparrows keep coming in it, and they're just the most beautiful animals, and it's so wonderful to watch, and there's huge joy just from watching them and seeing them and how they behave and stuff, and it's just really good for you, let alone anything else. So it's crazy on this. What about you, Pari? Yeah, any particular animal at all?
Oh, I agree with everything that everyone said. I think I'm going to say elephants, though. I used to live in India as a child, and I fell in love with elephants. And they are just such fascinating, enormously intelligent creatures, and they live in these wonderful, close-knit families. So, I think they're just so special.
Portfield Primary Academy, Chichester. What would you say was the one small change we can all do as individuals that would really make an impact? So I guess from the children watching, just some of this we much mentioned already, but in their classrooms or with their class or at their school or with their family, Liz, what would you say?
I mean, it depends where you live. It could be a really tiny thing, like putting out some water for birds in the summer, or if you have a garden, you could put some flowers that are great for insects. You could do a little bug hotel. It could be a really small thing.
Fantastic. What about you, Hugh?
Well, I agree. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. Depending on where you live, maybe a journey cycling to school is going to help. Maybe not eating meat at breakfast, a simple thing, choosing a different kind of breakfast this morning. But I agree totally with Patricia's book. Maybe convincing your parents to vote for politicians who care about the planet. That could be the one greatest thing you do when you get home tonight.
That's a good idea, especially with an election coming up. That's great. Patricia, what about yourself?
I would say eat more plants.
Yeah.
We love plants, but we love animals just as much. And if we go to a slightly more plant-based diet, it can really make a big difference in the world.
Make a huge difference. And Parry, what about yourself?
I feel like everyone's covered all the main things. Yeah, I'm just gonna bow down to your expertise.
That's fantastic. Okay, here's a quick question. This is quite amazing, actually. The answer to this: if all the wind around the UK coast could be harnessed for energy, how much of our energy needs could be met by this source alone? This is fascinating. Is it A, none, B, all, or C, double, or D, 3 times of our energy needs? What do you think it could be? Any idea? Who wants to have a quick guess? Hugh, what do you think?
It's got to be loads. More than our energy needs. But of course, we should be reducing our energy needs too. Read more books. But yeah,
read more books. This is the thing. I just put this out there. So this is incredible. The wind around the UK coast could meet 3 times the UK's energy needs if it was harnessed for energy. But we'd need 7,000 of the biggest turbines available at 140 sites, and obviously we'd have to hope for plenty of windy weather. But it's quite an incredible thing, because when you look, I mean, 7,000 is a lot, but 7,000 isn't something that's kind of completely, it's not like 7 million, off the charts. So it's quite an amazing fact, that base. So Call for a Primary School London, what can we as a school do to help? Parry, any other thoughts on that as a school?
Yeah, I think you could, for example, have one day a week when you have like a vegetarian day, so that as a school you're eating less meat. Just one day a week you'd reduce that by 20%. And if you had kind of green space in your school, you could plant bee-friendly flowers to help look after our bees, who are so essential for so much of our life on Earth. And those are just a couple small thoughts.
That's fantastic. Anything you'd like to add to that, anybody? Because that's they're 2 amazing things you can do. Liz, any thoughts on that?
I guess I'd echo what Patricia said earlier about the food waste. Make sure that the food waste is being recycled. Yeah.
And we'll watch how much we eat and how much we throw away. So it's great. Patricia, anything else? Because obviously there's huge amount about this in your book, really.
Yeah, I agree about planting a green space, even if it's just a patch, even if it's just something in your classroom. I think being in touch with something that's growing is really a good way for kids to sort of experience the earth and have a direct connection with it.
Absolutely. And Hugh, what about yourself?
All of that. And, if your school doesn't yet have a nature club or an environmental club, start one. Pester your teachers to start one. And it doesn't require a garden necessarily. Maybe you can have a book club first week, reading some of these amazing books you've heard about today, and encouraging and thinking of some cool ideas in ways that your school in your specific place might help. Oh, yes. And adopt a penguin.
And adopt a penguin. Of course, adopt a penguin.